8 people in 21 states have been affected by floods so far this year. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, says it has released over 100 billion naira to selected tertiary institutions across Nigeria to expand training in medical sciences and address the shortage of healthcare professionals in the country. Chairman of the fund's board, Aminu Masari, disclosed this in Katsina State, noting that the intervention aligns with President Bola Tinubu's directive to reverse the brain drain in the health sector. Masari said 3 tertiary institutions in each geopolitical zone have each received 4 billion naira to execute projects and academic expansion targeted at boosting their capacity to admit and train more students in medical fields. The federal government has recorded a milestone in digital learning as the Universal Basic Education (UBEC), in partnership with Korea International Cooperation Agency, has rolled out the groundbreaking Smart Education Initiative. The project introduced modern learning tools and teaching capacity building across public primary and junior secondary schools. Our correspondent Priscilla Obasi was there for Global Television.
The closing ceremony of the Universal Basic Education Commission (UBEC) and Korea International Cooperation Agency (KIOCA) Smart Education Project was held at the Universal Basic Education Commission's Digital Center in Abuja, showcasing a 3-year initiative aimed at transforming basic education in Nigeria through technology and innovative teaching. In her remarks, Executive Secretary of Universal Basic Education Commission, Aisha Garba, celebrated the project's successes, which include development of Nigeria's first Smart Education Master Plan, establishment of 6 content development studios, creation of almost 4,000 digital science and math lessons, and the setup of 21 operational smart schools benefiting over 8,000 pupils.
We have taken advantage of introducing technology in our classrooms through what we call the Smart School model.
Industry leaders at the event included Tak Namgung, representing Korea's ambassador Kim Pyeokgyu, via the public diplomacy section of Korean Embassy.
Independent assessments show that students in those smart schools are performing better in mathematics and science. Nigeria's young people are brimming with potential, creativity, and resilience.
Global Television spoke with the principal of the Smart School in Abuja, who shared insight on the project's impact.
What we are doing is digital, where you teach a child through the tablet, computer. You give them assignments through Google Classroom. Even if they are at home, they can do the assignment, and you as a teacher are monitoring them. The admission is open to everybody.
The event underscored its far-reaching impact, reaching 3 million learners, distributing hundreds and thousands of learning materials, and removing long-standing bottlenecks to funding. It signaled the dawn of a new era for digital literacy in Nigeria's education system. In a major stride forward, Korea International Cooperation Agency (KIOCA) and Universal Basic Education (UBEC)'s partnership has laid the foundation for a broader rollout, with the ultimate goal of establishing one smart school in each of Nigeria's 774 local government areas. Priscilla Obasi, reporting for Global Television News.
The Nigerian Education Law Firm has announced that a total of 449,031 students have so far benefited from a student loan scheme since its portal launched on May 24, 2024. In its latest report released, says the scheme has disbursed a total of over 86 billion naira as of August 6, 2025, noting that its disbursements includes over 47 billion naira paid directly to 218 institutions as tuition fees and over 38 billion naira given to students as upkeep allowances. It was a night of glamour, unity and celebration as political heavyweights and notable figures converged in Abuja to mark the 50th birthday of Ugwumba Uche Nwosu, son-in-law to former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha. The Golden Jubilee drew Nigeria's most influential leaders cutting across political lines. Kekelomo Okere now reports.
From the National Assembly to political arena, dignitaries arrived in style to honor Ogumba Uche Nwosu on his golden milestone. In attendance were Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives Benjamin Kalu, former Senator Dino Melaye, 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, and former President of the Senate Ayim Pius Ayim. They all hailed Ogumba Uche Nwosu as a visionary leader, philanthropist, and a bridge builder whose impact spanned politics and society. Also gracing the occasion was his father-in-law, former Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha, and his beloved wife, Onoma Uche Nwosu, alongside other top political and business figures from across the country.
Greatly honored to share this moment with our friend, our brother, and an upcoming leader, Chief Uche Nwosu. It is my prayer that the Almighty will continue to sustain him. He's a good in-law, a good man, a philanthropist, a peaceful man, and I'm just happy that the world is seeing what I saw many years ago.
Full of joy. I mean, we are grateful to God Almighty, and we celebrate him. Uche is a wonderful person. You know?
The evening featured heartfelt tribute, music, and a display of unity that transcends political affiliation.
Started showing interest just in my first year of university. He's been my friend, and from being my friend he became a husband, and he's still my husband. And I tell you, Uche has a beautiful heart. I call him my love. He's a fantastic father, and I'm glad I chose to do life with you.
In his remark, the celebrant expressed deep gratitude to God, his family, and all well-wishers for making the day a memorable one.
I feel elected, happy. If I say I'm mesmerized, it's no understatement. If I say I'm flabbergasted, it's no overstatement. I am really bamboozled with what I'm seeing here today. I thank God for my life. I thank God for my friends and my colleagues and those who were able to put this up for me. I'm grateful to them. I'm happy with them. I will ever remain grateful to them.
This golden jubilee was a more than a birthday. It is a celebration of legacy, leadership, and lasting influence, surrounded by family, friends, and political icons. Ogumba Uche Nwosu's 50th was a testament to lives he has touched and the bridges he continues to build. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
50 years can look quite amazing now. All right, congratulations to Uche Nwosu. Tension is mounting once again in Yelwata community, Benue State, after another deadly attack in the early hours of Monday left 3 people dead. Our correspondent Felicity Indere has more.
Eyewitnesses said the gunman struck just before dawn, barely 2 months after a previous assault that claimed hundreds of lives and displaced thousands. The renewed violence has left residents in fear and on edge. In response, women and other locals poured into the streets in protest, blocking major roads and bringing traffic to a standstill. a show of anger and grief, they placed the bodies of the victims on the highway, vowing that no vehicle would pass until soldiers stationed in the area are withdrawn, accusing them of failing to protect the community. Military helicopters, armed soldiers and police have since moved in to restore order, but protesters insist they will not leave until the governor addresses them directly and urgent action is taken to stop the killings. On social media, Joseph Jew, head of media and publicity for the internally displaced person in the area, released the names of the victims as families mourn in search for those still missing. The people of Yelwata are now urging government and security agencies to break what they call a vicious circle of bloodshed and insecurity before more lives are lost.
Benue State correspondent Felicity Nderi, thank you for following with us on the development there on the ground. Let's turn to other stories now. The military says it has neutralized more than 100 terrorists during coordinated airstrikes followed by ground assaults and clearances in Makakari forests of Bukuyum local government area in Zamfara State. The development occurred in the early hours when military aircraft and the relentless advance of ground troops signaled the beginning of an operation that would leave over 100 bandits dead, their motorcycles burnt, as well as their stronghold in ruins. This is Global Television. You're watching the live broadcast of the AM News. When the rest of the news returns, Australia calls recognition of Palestinian state moment of opportunity. We have those details from the foreign scene as well as business and sports stories for you. When we return from this short break, please don't go away. The second part of this news broadcast returns with business. The World Bank has approved $300 million in financing for Nigeria to strengthen resilience and expand access to essential services for internally displaced persons, IDPs, and their host communities in northern Nigeria. In a statement, World Bank Nigeria says the approval granted on August 7, 2025 will fund the solutions for the internally displaced persons and host communities projects targeting selected local government areas most affected by conflict-driven displacement. The project is expected to benefit up to 7.4 million people, including about 1.3 million internally displaced persons, by adopting an integrated development strategy aligned with Nigeria's long-term development vision. The federal government has commenced the rollout of a national electronic fiscal system to modernize Nigeria's tax administration, curb evasion, as well as enhance transparency in revenue collection. In a statement, Special Advisor on Media to the Federal Inland Revenue Service Chairman Dare Adekombi said in less than 2 weeks since the launch, at least 1,000 companies representing 20% of more than 5,000 eligible firms have adopted the system and begun integrating with the platform. The Federal Inland Revenue Service said the system, which incorporates an electronic invoicing solution known as the Merchant Buyer Model, went live on August 1st, 2025, after a successful pilot phase that began in November last year. As the economy tightens and bills pile up, more Nigerians are finding creative ways to make ends meet. Side hustle, once seen as optional, is now becoming a necessity, a second job that could make the difference between merely surviving and living comfortably. Kabir Hassan completes the report.
In today's Nigeria, one job is really enough to meet daily needs. More and more people are turning to side hustles, not for extra cash, but for a vital part of their survival. Today we are in the street of Abuja to hear what Nigerians can say about the importance of side hustle.
With the rising cost of living and limited job openings, side hustle has become more than just extra income. They are now survival strategy for many young Nigerians. From online businesses to creative trades, the youth are redefining work in face of economic hardship. Across selection of people interviewed on the benefit of side hustles, since such hustles provide financial stability, skill development, and independence. Some believe it's not just a choice but a necessity in the current economic climate.
Over 70% of Nigerians youth are unemployed. Is a concern. Side hustle is very important because it helps standardize your finances. It gives you a financial edge over the economy.
Side hustle is important because as a Nigerian, if you don't have a side hustle, you'll be left at the side.
Experts recommend side hustle for youth, stressing the need for discipline, proper time management, and continuous skills improvement. They advise young people to start small, remain consistent, and avoid ventures that could compromise their main career.
Side hustle is very important. All I'm saying is side hustle is advisable.
Definitely, because you have to in other countries you can do 2-3 jobs. In Nigeria you can't just rely on one, so you have to do side hustle.
What do you mean by side hustling? If it is not something that is against the law, if it's a legitimate business that you know that it will be productive to your life, and besides that,
They have to find the techniques, creativity to help their self.
Still on the streets, many people advise youths to choose side hustles that match their skills and passions rather than chasing quick money. They also advise those hustling to ensure proper planning, financial discipline, and balancing the hustle with main job or educational qualification.
People are trying to make money in Nigeria, they are hustling. If there is government that help them to intervene for small scheme.
For all Nigerians, irrespective of your age difference, look for something aside your dream job to keep you.
The side hustle has moved from the background to the center stage of their financial lives, and with the rising showing no signs of slowing, it seems that extra job will remain a necessity for the foreseeable future. Kabir Hassan reporting for Global TV News.
Well, thank you, Kibio. Let's go to the foreign scene now, where Boko Haram terrorists have sowed terror among those living around Lake Chad for some 15 years. Surrounded by Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria, the lake's countless islets serve as hideouts for the Islamist militants. Major General Ibrahim Salau Ali, Commander-in-Chief of the Multinational Joint Task Force, says the islands isolate the terrorists from the outside, making it difficult for military to reach them. Zarao Nasir reports.
Surrounded by Cameroon, Chad, Niger and Nigeria, Lake Chad's countless small islands serve as hideouts for the Islamic militants whose violent campaign began in Nigeria's northeast before spilling into its neighbors. Jihadist attacks have surged in the wider Sahel region, though Boko Haram has lost ground to the army in the Lake Chad area. Major General Godwin Mutkut, the first commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force, says the aerial bombardment has not been effective in neutralizing terrorists around the Lake Chad.
The reason why the Boko Haram terrorists hibernate on the island, because it isolates them from the outside, thereby making it very difficult for the military to reach them. That's their thinking. And so there are times we do bomb them from the air, but it's not too effective.
Major General Mutkut, who highlighted the challenge posed by the size of the Lake Chad, also said vast amount of resources is needed to tackle the terror threat in the area.
And as I told you, 800 islands. It's quite huge, quite big. And so we need a lot of troops to engage in this kind of operations.
The United Nations says in Chad's Lak province alone, more than 250 people have been forced to flee their homes. Zahra Nasser reporting for Global TV News.
Well, thank you so very much, Felicity. Let's turn to sports now. The All Progressives Congress youth leader, Dayo Israel, has urged Nigerian youths to embrace sports not just for recreation, but as a pathway to career success and a strategic tool in the fight against crime and unemployment. He made the remarks during a community event built around one of football's biggest showdowns. Aniete Patrick has details.
It was a lively atmosphere at the Nest Resource Center in Abuja, venue of the 2025 Community Shield viewing party. Football fans, youth stakeholders, and members of the National Assembly gathered to watch Liverpool take on Crystal Palace. The APC youth leader Dayo Israel said beyond the goals and penalties, the focus was a bigger goal, using sports to steer young Nigerians away from restiveness and crime.
You can't separate youth and sport. Youth and sport is very critical. And that's why every government has a Ministry of Youth and Sport, or a Ministry of Youth and a Ministry of Sport. But youth and sport are synonymous, and the goal is that young people can use sport as a means to channel their energy, as a means to be able to build peace, as a means to be able to improve their talent, develop themselves, and also for economic prosperity. And so we understand the importance of sport.
Israel encouraged youths, regardless of political affiliation, to take advantage of facilities at the Youth Hub in the FCT to network, play games, and participate in activities designed to improve their lives and offer an escape from daily struggles.
With our first sport viewing center, we're going to be bringing young people together every week to, watch games together, interact, network, use that opportunity to build collaborations, and have engagement around sports and politics, football and politics. We also have a table tennis corner here. We have a snooker corner here. We have some native games like Ludo and all of that. For you, we can come in the afternoon with their friends, network, have some drinks, and play games together.
Crystal Palace eventually lifted the trophy after defeating Liverpool on penalties, a victory that capped a day of football, fellowship, and a renewed call to make sports a tool for national development. Anie T. Patrick, reporting for Global TV.
And with Anita's report, we call it a wrap here on the Global AM News. Thank you so very much for watching. I am Muyi Agmofwegbe. We are on DSTV, channels 365 and Star Times 276. As always, follow and engage with us across social media platforms using @Global TV NG. It's another wonderful morning, no doubt about that. Thank you so very much, everyone, for staying with us here on Global Morning. The elements notwithstanding, as a great Tuesday, no doubt about that, second business day of the week, and we say thank you for making that decision to spend the next 3 or so hours with us here on the program. I am Uji Agmofwegwe, and my colleague who is the, well, for in business, I'll call him the angel investor this morning on the program. Ramsey, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. Good morning, Uyi. And good morning, our viewers out there. It's a beautiful day, like Uyi has said, and of course, we help you get your day started on a very beautiful note, and it's so good that you are there right now. And of course, it's a rainy day, but then, despite all odds, we have to be here because you deserve to know what's going on.
Right.
And of course, Global Morning today is loaded for your viewing pleasure. Stay with us.
All right, great. Well, it's quite a wet day. Of course, that's not much of a surprise. Weatherman says it's going to be 23 degrees today for Abuja in particular. That's Nigeria's capital. It's going to be essentially cloudy, but then I think those clouds now have formed into rain. And everybody this morning saying it's raining heavily on my end, it's raining heavily at my place, and all of that. But then we've got to do what we've got to do, and it's the reason we're here this morning. But then the rain shouldn't be a reason we don't continue to chase our dream. Yesterday I read up something somewhere, no, 2 evenings ago. It says when it rains, you have 2 options. Either to go back to your bed and continue to dream, all right, or you leave your bed and chase your dream. All right, so you've got to use one of those 2 options in front of you. But if I were you, I would be in a hurry to pick the second, which is to get myself up the bed and chase my dream.
You know, I was telling someone while we're driving down to the office, I was telling someone in the car, I was like, well, some persons take advantage of moments like this to make money, especially the riders. Then some persons go hide this time, you know, and wait for the rain to stop before they do any other thing. I think the best time to actually pursue that dream, because if you keep sleeping, you keep dreaming.
Right.
The dream's going on, and of what use is a dream that not been pursued and achieved? You know, so I think the best thing, I go with you. I'll go with the second too. Just wake up and chase your dream, because sometimes the rain could be counted as a limitation to your dream, or hindrance, or stumbling to your dream. But wisdom demands that you are able to identify these elements so that you will be able to jump over them and pursue your dream.
An interesting thing is there's next to nothing we can do about the elements, I mean the weather. All right, at one point in the case of Nigeria and the Sub-Sahara, it's rainy season. The next you have the Harmattan, and then you have the dry season and all of that. So the question is, what plans do you have in place for these different seasons? I've always loved the rainy season. Yes, it might pose a bit of an obstacle, an impediment in some cases, but it still remains my most favorable. We can't say that for every other person. However, whatever your favorable weather is, just know that you have to plan around it. What to wear, where to go to, when to leave the house. What are your alternatives if you're stuck? Because there are times, I mean, let's be realistic, it's such a heavy downpour, you can't leave your house. All right, what do you do under such circumstances? You look for alternative. You must plan ahead. Some of us act as if it just started raining this year. It has always rained.
No, the very important thing, while you were yet speaking, something came to my mind. This is not something that just happened because it's happening accidentally. You know that there is a timing for the summer, there is a timing for the winter, the rainy season, the Harmattan, and all that. There is a time, and every wise man who have a dream and vision to pursue will have plans ahead for these timings, like you just said, so that you're not taken unawares. And even, okay, let's take for instance, it's raining heavily now. You're still in bed. What happens if you get out of bed and you start working from home? For those that can work from home, instead of just covering your duvet and all of that. But well, I think the most important thing is that a vision known, all right, when you discover your vision you pursue it as if there is no tomorrow. But then, if you don't know that there is a vision there, there is lassity and so many slow motions as it has to achieving these visions. That's it for me this morning, this rainy day.
This rainy day, right? I can imagine that. Well, we don't know for how long exactly it's going to rain this morning, at least in the case of Nigeria's capital, Abuja. But whatever the case may be, just know that the rain shouldn't be able to stop you. We also understand that one of the concerns that people have is the roads. People have serious concerns with the road, and that's something we can all relate with, because if you live in an area that is prone to flooding, every time it rains, in some cases we've seen across this country, people's hearts are practically in between their lips, because you know that if you're in your house, you're stuck. If you're outside of your house, you're stuck. So either way, you can't move an inch, as my mom would say. All right. So that again is a concern for motorists, for pedestrians, and for even people who live in communities. And that's the reason you see that I grew up into a culture where, when people are looking for new places, I mean, they're looking for new homes, to new houses, new places to move into by way of accommodation. They want to do that during the rainy season, because it allows them the opportunity to do an assessment of which areas are prone to flooding. All right, so you don't move into an area, a neighborhood during the dry season thinking all is well, and then by the time the rains come pouring, you suddenly realize that you are just maybe a few steps away from River Niger.
I've seen people who don't even go out for as long as 2-3 days because of the flooding.
Right.
Especially people in places like Ijora in Lagos. You know, Lagos is an island.
It's on a level when it comes to flooding.
When it comes to flooding. And so you see people stay in their rooms for like 2-3 days, not going out, waiting until the water dries up and all of that. And what leads to all of this? Runways.
Right.
You know, human being, if we ourselves have contributed to this flooding in a way, of dumping refugees into the runway. But then I think, like someone would say, even if it is to get a canoe, you get one so that you can walk out of your room. Like we talk about the roads, these are some of the things that some persons cannot do anything about. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's wisdom to get an accommodation during the rainy season, so that you can get to spot out these elements to avoid regret and all of that. But then what happens if you're pressed and maybe there is an emergency or something that demands you moving from where you are during the Hamilton season? What will you do? You just need to ask questions. You know, ask questions if you're going into any location. Ask questions. At least there are people who may want to tell you the truth about whatever the situation is around that location where you're looking for accommodation. But all the same, I think these are circumstances that if we want it not to stop us, it won't stop us in achieving whatever it is we want to achieve. But then let's all play our parts, you know, to control these circumstances in our own little ways, so that during the hard times like this, the rainy season and all of that, we will have at least the cause to say, well, I contributed to the reason why this place is no longer flooded anymore.
Quite interesting. Speaking of flooding, a bit of very concerning piece of news came through yesterday, which of course Global TV has actually brought to you since yesterday, even up until this morning, coming from the National Flood Early Warning System Center of the Federal Ministry of Environment, saying that between August 10 and 14th, which of course today is 12th already, between 10th and 14th of August, that there will be a 5-day period of rain, and it's going to affect about 15 states in the northern part of the country, and this will also adversely impact 68 locations. That's quite concerning. I was speaking with a neighbor this morning. I mean, we drove together to the office, and I said, this is disturbing, really. We may not all live in the north, but this is a Nigerian problem now, because we've seen flooding do damage across the country over the last couple of years in particular, right? And then you're asking yourself, of what use are these advisories that NIMET and the National Weather Center are all doling out? Are the governors listening, for example? Because these are local issues. Yes, we know NEMA will intervene naturally. I mean, the National Emergency Management Agency. But that's at the federal level. At the sub-national level, who takes responsibility? Who is the chief first responder, so to speak? He's supposed to be the governor, for example. I mean, if a state is affected by flooding, like we saw in the case of Benue the other time, I mean, Borno the other time, for example, we saw Professor Babagana Zulum, all right, come out to provide leadership in that regard, because that's what it should be. And it's the reason you were voted, it's the reason you came out to say you can provide leadership for the people. Do we have governors who understand that reality across all 36 states of the Federation today, for instance? It's not enough to say we are giving early warnings and all of that, but who is coordinating the efforts? You say, okay, this warning says between so and so time there will be heavy rainfall in so and so areas. And then you ask people to move upland. I mean, it's not going to happen at the snap of fingers. Who is going to provide the resources, the logistics? Who is going to provide the modality? Who is going to coordinate and galvanize the process of people moving? I mean, even if somebody gets an ejection notice or, well, let's say a quick notice, as we call it in Nigeria, somebody has to take leadership, somebody has to take responsibility for moving to a new place, looking for a new place, and moving things practically to that new place. But we don't see much of that effort happening. So it's as if NIMET is saying to Nigeria, for example, our mandate is to warn you, let you know what the weather is saying, what the flood is going to look like, what impact and damage, and all of that. We now give it in front of, well, those who have been elected or appointed to provide leadership in this regard, which chief amongst them are the governors. So for those states that have been mentioned, 15 of these states, what will the governors do to, not to stop rain, let's be clear, not to stop it from rain, but are we going to be proactive enough in terms of taking measures to ensuring that we minimize the negative impact?
I think majority of the problem, I don't say, but then I think I'm being tempted to say majority of this problem comes from the top. And one of the reasons is because some of them are not directly affected, all right, by this disaster, as the case may be. And some are even waiting for maybe NEMA and good philanthropists, NGOs to come to their aid when these things happen, because some persons are there ready to lick their hands in the process, you know. But then these warnings keep coming. All right, it has come this year. Let's assume there is nothing. Maybe because of the short in notice, there might be nothing much to be done. But then, anyone who is proactive and knows exactly what he's doing as a governor, commissioner of environment or whatever, you should be able to do something at least. Even if it is not to stop the flooding completely, but something should be done. Like you talk about relocating people right now. Where is the resources? Some of these persons cannot even relocate themselves. If you want to move upland, how do you do that? What are the modalities to facilitate this process? You know, all of these things need to be taken into cognizance. But then, the number one person who is supposed to be at the front of this whole scenario, where are they today? Are they even concerned? That's the problem. Are they concerned? I don't know. You know, when I hear of let's move them to IDP camp, let's move them to IDP camp, I don't know. Sometimes it appears as if some persons are even more interested in getting these people to the IDP camp. What are you doing to ensure these things don't happen again?
All right, thank you everyone for staying with us. We sincerely apologize for that glitch with our transmission right there. It has now been resolved. We appreciate you as always for your patience and understanding. But quite a lot is happening today in the country. The aviation sector appears to be in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. Now, Ramsey, the other day it was Kwam One in front of a jet. Some people say he probably thought it was in front of a tricycle, the one we popularly call keke. Yes, that's why he had the guts to do that. I mean, I'm a full-blown adult. Never in my life in this country have I seen someone stand in front of a jet that was about taxiing. All right, real life, not Nollywood, not Hollywood, not any of the woods. I mean, this was real life, and this was a prominent citizen. But of course, the man has gone ahead to apologize. He has been suspended from flying for 6 months. See, we thought we were going to ultimately start recovering from that when another one happened between an air passenger and her hostess just 2 days ago. And today that video has gone viral, and he's sparking several conversations, including some that are very unpalatable. All right, but it just raises the question, the concern of how is it that all of a sudden the aviation sector is being painted in bad light by a few persons, and what exactly did we miss that led to these very unfortunate incidents, and what could we have done to avert them if possible? And then finally, what can we do to ensure that we minimize the odds of these sort of events ever occurring again?
Well, I think the same question that has been bubbling in my mind since yesterday, because I took time to go through. There was a press statement, a press release from IBOM, from the airline operator, and there are videos online, and I was like trying to put one two together to actually know what the problem is. Then, from what I deduced from that situation is, one, I think there is a misunderstanding there. Some persons, all they know about traveling by air is just pay my air ticket. By the time I've paid my air ticket, that is all. Yeah, that's what some people think. I am thinking there is need for some sort of orientation even before the takeoff. You know, where the waiting room where passengers stay to wait, there should be constant orientation for people who board these airlines. There are regulations. There are regulations. That's not your house. That's not your personal car. Even in your personal car, there are some things you shouldn't even do for your own safety and for the safety of your family and whoever that is driving with you. That is just for your personal car. How much more that of an aircraft? You're traveling. There are regulations. Well, I think details are unfolding gradually. Some person said it was because she refused to put off her phone, which everyone know. And that's the reason on every phone we even have
airplane
what
mode.
We call airplane mode, for every flight mode, for every. I have some persons ever thought of what is the function of this? I don't think some.
Nobody says turn it off. The idea is just activate the airplane mode.
Airplane mode, and that's it. Because and if calls are coming in, if messages are coming in, there is a way it will be handled by the handheld, by the machine. So I don't know why simple instruction is difficult for some persons in Nigeria to abide with. Then sometimes the issue of do you know who I am? I don't know if you have seen two cars bash themselves.
Yes,
before.
and then the two drivers get off their vehicles, and the one is shouting, "Do you know who I am?" And the other one is saying, "Today I will show you.
Who I am." And funny enough, the two of them are coming out of the car after bashing themselves. Then the two of them echo it together. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? You know, and there's a way I feel about that statement. You know, whoever you are, you have one life. Whoever you are,
that's right.
You need to be alive first before the recognition of who you are. So safety is very important. Don't even, no matter who you are, You don't have to be careless on the road because you feel you are someone influential person or whoever you want to think you are. If that thing had led to death, the cops wouldn't be saying, this is who you are, and it's going to be too late. You know, so going back to that drama, you know, it's so funny. But then, apart from the manhandling, one thing led to the other. Some persons were watching the video with me yesterday, and they were, this lady is being manhandled. But then, when protocol is being broken, when rules are being broken, what else do you think will happen? You should behave like a criminal. You're being treated like one. I've heard where people are just being arrested from the road because they are the scene of a crime, and they are being manhandled until it's been one or two persons come to talk about the real situation before they can get their release. But no matter what, a travel that was supposed to be for pleasure, as it is right now, I think that lady might be cooling somewhere. I saw that she was taken to Kirikiri. I saw on social media. I didn't follow it. I didn't research it whether it's true or not. But this morning there was a video that someone posted, and the person said, this part of the story the airline did not show us. That's that video has it that the lady has positioned her phone, the Emerson lady, the lady that the passenger positioned her phone and had done a video where the air hostess blocks the road, and she was tapping her, please madam, allow me to pass. Everybody don't leave the airport. You know, everybody don't leave the airport. Please allow me to pass. I beg you, make una see wahala. I saw that video this morning where she was lamenting, when she was making that video and asking the lady, and the lady still blocked to let her through. Refused to let her through. And maybe out of annoyance that happened. And that comes to control of anger. You know, some person's temperament, you know, all these things put us into trouble or not us, no matter the situation. It is a rule. You don't need to go violent, against an air hostess for any reason. That's an issue that would have been trashed or maybe talked over amicably, but look at where it has ended. I think we should be asking questions. Before now, the most honorable means of transportation that we have is air transport. You know, but now I don't know what's becoming, because people believe that prestigious people, people of high esteem, are the ones who travel by air. But with what is happening right now, I don't think that belief is still, that school of thought is still in place based on our assessment. Maybe subsequently we may be able to speak with someone to actually throw more light on this issue.
Well, so much to talk about, but let's take a quick break now. But before that, we want to remind you that today, the 12th of August, has been set aside by the United Nations to be International Youth Day. It's big, it's global, and the commemoration, yes, is very pivotal. This year's theme is centered around the Sustainable Development Goals, local actions for the SDGs. That's what the theme for this year is. It will form a crux of one of our conversations on the show this morning. But we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll take a look at the big headlines from across our national dailies for you.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's now time for us to take you through the national dailies and see what the papers are saying this morning. Beginning from the Daily Sun newspaper this morning, we have a lot of headlines, and I'm being tempted to start with the big story right there. But then before I go to the big story, a few more stories from there. We just finished talking about the Ibom Air saga. Just beside the Daily Sun, the nameplate, we have this one, Ibom Air saga. Unruly female passenger gets flight bar for life. Docked remanded in prison. Right? Then two riders to that story. Obi accuses airport authorities of double standards. Kwanwan action amounts to terrorism in some nations. NCAA. You can get the details of that on page 2, 6, and 26. Then this one says Nigerian doctors in diaspora write NAS. Tinubu over rising wave of sudden death. Okay, they left us, but they are still concerned. That's to tell you that some of them left because of some circumstances.
Right.
Beyond their contrast, they say. Now to the big story. I said I was bringing you the big story, and I was tempted to take that before the other stories, but now it is time for the big story, which says ADC, EFCC fight over intimidation allegation. And some writers to that story. The first one says claims anti-graft agency acting as APC's hit squad. We are not partisans. Commission is the one saying that coalition leadership should first regularize position with INEC, according to APC. Well, I don't know, but then it's as if ADC may not find it very rosy, as the case may be. Remember, one, as we speak, they are still trying to find their footings, whether you like it or not. This is like, irrespective of the fact that these people are actors in the game before now, this is a coalition. It can still be referred to as a baby. And this baby needs nurturing. And you know what happens at the tender stage of a baby? You know how carefully it's supposed to be handled and all of that. But with all of this, I don't know, something like the rider, you hear what the rider says, claims anti-graft agency acting as APC's hit squad. And you know, Nigerians have this belief that it's either you're part of the system, or it's either you're for them or you are against them. And we've heard in the past where people allege that, well, if you want to hide your crime, you belong to the ruling party. Some Nigerians have alleged in the past, when we heard of people defecting, so Nigerians were alleging, which we didn't follow up to research all of that. That is their opinion. But with what is happening right now, ADC and EFCC fighting, well, I think if they said it's an intimidation, it might not really be far from what they are saying, but then they know what they are talking about.
I think politicians just have to not keep reminding us that they are politicians. Well, we already know they are, right? The first question is, now that we understand the former Sokoto State Governor, former Speaker, House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, has not only been arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the man has also been detained overnight. I mean, he got picked up yesterday and today. He has done one night with them in detention. Obviously, he has been interrogated. So that leaves that there. And then you ask yourself, going forward, how much of evidence do they have? Because ideally, one would expect that a body like the EFCC and anti-graft, some people say, well, the leading anti-graft agency in Nigeria should have a body of evidence so overwhelming. I mean, let's just save ourselves some energy. Yesterday, I got talking with a colleague at work. We're talking about the FBI, for example. We're seeing cases where the FBI would hold you down at the airport, let's say JF Kennedy Airport in New York. They could hold you down for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, questioning, interrogating you, background checking you, looking at the facts they have on you, vis-a-vis the questioning going on between you and their operatives, if they realize that they don't have enough evidence or basis or grounds to take you into custody, they let you off. No sentiments. They don't have to like Ramsey. They don't have to not like Ramsey. They don't have to be friends with Ramsey. However, if there's evidence and they put that dossier in front of you, I mean, you would know that you are guilty as charged already, even before you get to court. In the case of Nigeria, one of the reasons, unless we want to keep lying to ourselves, you see us having this back and forth, or what we call kitty kata over this issue of EFCC's arrest and all of that, is that one, the EFCC has done so much of media trial over time. So people feel like, okay, so you are back again on the front pages of newspaper to impress us with a few arrests here and there. For the love of heaven, if you have what they call overwhelming evidence on an individual, what do? You take them to court. All right, you take them to court. We saw what the EFCC chairman now, Ola Olukoyede, said about former governor of Benue, Kogi said the other time, Yahaya Bello, that if he didn't arrest and prosecute him, he would resign. All right, those are weighty pledges to make. All right, so we must understand that the EFCC ordinarily should be sacrosanct, an institution, the operative word being an institution. So the man who runs it, the way the operatives carry themselves, the kind of information they put out there, all of these are very fundamentally critical elements. We've seen accusations back and forth. We've seen videos of EFCC operatives being accused of going to raid people's houses, businesses in ways that are Gestapo-like in nature and things like that. Those issues speak to image, institutional image and perception. These are things you don't play with. So before we start talking about, of course, Tambuwal is not the first governor to be so arrested, right? So former governor, I should say. How about other former governors who were also arrested like this? So look at former Anambra State Governor, for example, Willie Obiano. He was picked up the very evening after he left office, after he handed over to Professor Charles Soludo and things like that. What has happened to that case, for instance? And again, finally, this is happening, so to speak, on the eve of the 2027 general election. I mean, the speculations are just going to be endless.
Well, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see when we'll get over this drama. We need to call it drama, because we've had cases like this and we didn't see the end. And talking about evidence, it's not even wrong if this evidence if they are not too official, if they are not too private, you pull them up.
Let the people know. Sensitive.
Yeah, if they are not sensitive.
Well, hearing is 189 billion naira. Well, maybe the EFCC took 2 years or longer, because the man left office on May 29th, by the way, 2023. So it's been 2 years and counting the whole time. Maybe they needed this much time to background check, carry out thorough investigation, and now they can confidently and authoritatively say we'll now have all the facts we need to prosecute.
All right, let's just keep our fingers crossed. Stay on Global Television, and we'll bring you the stories as they unfold. Back to the Daily Sun newspaper for the few headlines remaining. DSS arraigns 5 for terrorism over Oyo Church massacre. Details on page 4. EFCC grills detain ex-Sokoto Governor Tambuwal over alleged money laundering. Flood sweeps away 150 million Ikorodu fish farm. One rider to that story, and the rider says a lack of insurance deepens losses as victims cry for help. Details read on page 23. A panel probes Bobrisky's preferential treatment in prison. Is this case still there? All right, let's just keep our fingers crossed and see how all of this drama will unfold. And that's the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, let's flip things over quickly, everyone, to the Nation newspaper now. Our top left corner of the Nation newspaper says Ogun government, Daniel Raw over land escalates. All right. That's a former governor versus a sitting governor. Federal government reconstitutes board of FCC higher rep. 5 arraigned over 2022 Owo Catholic Church terror attack. Ramsey brought you that story from the previous paper a while ago. That was the Daily Sun. But here, again, it's replicated. 1.91 million apply for 30,000 jobs in paramilitary agencies. We understand the portal closed yesterday. So let's see what the assessment will be like, and we look forward to the outcome. NCC precludes its CEOs from taking appointments with telcos. NCC precludes its CEOs from taking appointments with telcos. Those details are on page 7, which means by the time you, leave office as the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Communications Commission, the law now bars you from taking up appointment with any of the telecoms operators. But here's the star headline for you from the Nation newspaper. EFCC detains Tambuwal over suspicious withdrawal of 89 billion naira. That's a lot of money, no doubt about it. But then the writer tells us operatives begin interrogation of ex-governor. It's witch hunt, says ADC. Unruly passenger remanded in Kirikiri. Then lastly, on the fifth of the front page of the Nation newspaper, killing of 5 Al Jazeera journalists by Israeli forces takes toll to 238. Quite a sad incident there in Gaza. Find those details on page 29 of today's issue of the Nation newspaper. We flip it over now to the Guardian newspaper.
All right, on the Guardian, we have these headlines, and the first one said, a panel chides NCOs over worsening sanitation in reform facility. Reactions trail sanctions, remand of unruly air passenger as federal government decried rising cases. Competent leadership reduce Argentina's poverty rate from 52% to 38.1% in 2 years, says Obi. All right. Now to the big story right here. It says glitches, extortion as police insist on new tinted permit, shift deadline. ADC accuses EFCC of witch hunt as Tambuwal held over alleged 189 billion naira bridge. Protest rock Yelwata as gunmen kill 3 in fresh attack. NYC versus Ray. Vengeful Act says IP as lawyer threatened lawsuit. Oyebanji sacks commissioners, others in Ekiti, cabinet reshuffle. And this one, which is going to be the last on the Guardian newspaper this morning, says visually impaired protesters block airport road over closure of Farmcraft Center. Details read on page 8. This is somehow disastrous. Visually impaired protesters. I've not really seen this in a while. Visually impaired, they can't see, but they are going out on the protest. Who's taking the lead?
That's quite concerning here, very concerning. But those details are on page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper, so you can grab a copy and read up for context and perspective.
Yeah, that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Guardian newspaper as we flip over to the next paper. Okay,
let's move on now to the next one here. I'm sure the next paper here is the Daily Times newspaper. All right, here it says, first of all, at the very top of the picture of Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, it tells us Tugar applauds NITCAM's strategic role in promoting Nigeria's 4D agenda. All right, that's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. NIPCO to sustain downstream oil sector investment. Blind physically challenged group cripple activities at Lagos airports, and then take it further down. A week after Value Jet, AON slams no-fly life ban on Ibom Air passenger. And while some people are saying that that's too harsh a penalty, it could have been 6 months or 1 year. But then again, there are times when maybe a situation arises when one needs to use a sledgehammer to kill a fly. Well, we understand the cases in courts. Meanwhile, the lady has been remanded in Kirikiri. Withholding Rice NYC discharge certificate, vengeful actions, saying says LP, that's the Labour Party. 3 years later, FG arraigns 5 suspects over 2022 terrorist attack on Ondo Catholic Church. 189 billion naira alleged fraud. EFCC grills former Sokoto State Governor Tambuwal. Tinubu congratulates NAFDAC for retaining WHO maturity level 3 status. All right, let's move to the New Telegraph, and Ramsey has all of those details for us.
All right, straight to the New Telegraph this morning. On the New Telegraph, H135, improve revenue drive, raise collection cost by 41.9% to 657.99 billion naira. That's at the top of the New Telegraph. Then 2024, electricity users lodge 855,757 metering billing complaints. I take that again. This sounds very interesting to me. 2024 electricity users lodged 855,757 metering billing complaints. I wonder which year would this complaint be handed. That's to tell you of what's happening from the power sector. EFCC detains ex-governor Tambuwal over alleged 189 billion naira fraud. Details read on page 2. Ex-DSS DG to NAS legalize Ametokun other vigilante groups. That's their detail reads on page 3. Planned local government pool. Rivers indigents drag Tinubu Ibas. Rivers State Electoral Commission to court. Details on page 2. If you want to know why, just pick a copy of the New Telegraph. And now to the big story on the New Telegram, and it says, Babaji Lawal, I warn Nigerians, Tinubu would sideline non-Yoruba supporters. One writer to that story says he can't forgive the president. His evidence, OB1 2023 poll. Details read on page 2. Airline operators impose no-fly life ban on unruly Ibom Air passenger. Someone says that's too harsh for life. All right, 13-year-old boy kidnapped in Imo escape as abductors sleep in Anambra bush. I think that's the fine arrangement. One writer to that story says security deployment begins for Anambra by-election. 4 confess as DSS arraigns Owo Catholic Church attack suspects. Security sources the one saying that. Gridlock on Lagos Airport Road as visually impaired persons protest school closure neglect. Some writers to that story, and the first writer says, call for government action. We are not fighting, just want president to hear us. Then the last writer says pensioners protest 35-month unpaid entitlement in Lagos. You know, the last time I checked, there was some proposal also to increase pensioners' wage. But then the ones they are collecting, some are still lamenting that they are not being paid. Whether it's the state that is responsible or the federal government, whoever that is responsible, I think we need to see the constant payment, prompt payment of their pensions, their allowances, wages, whatever it is that they need to be paid before we even talk about increments. These people are not even asking for too much. All right, finally from the New Telegraph, this one says, tiny traces of lithium protects brain from Alzheimer's disease. Details on page 28. That's from the health page. All right, that's the size of the stories of the New Telegraph this morning.
All right, to the Nigerian Tribune quickly. Big story first with a Kika ValueJet Ibom Air incident. It's double standard. Justice must be fair, equal. Obi. Several riders with the headline: Police arraign female passenger, court remands her in Kirikiri prison. Airline operators ban her from flying for life. FG to punish Ibom Air official who released passengers indecent video. Above the nameplates, Stambuwal in EFCC custody over 189 billion naira cash withdrawals. DSS arraigns 5 over 2022 our church killings. We take it further down, left end of the front page. Tinted permits, police extend enforcement till October 2nd. Nigeria's health sector funded 90% domestically, says Minister. FDA approves new eye drop that can fix far-sightedness without glasses. That's quite some relief to those of us who need to wear glasses to be able to see objects that are far-sighted. Reform fatigue sets in as 16 trillion naira debt service erodes gains of fuel subsidy removal, analysts. Cautious optimism as INEC braces up for CVR exercise. We understand that the continuous voters registration has been on, but now there are some challenges. So INEC is trying to be cautiously optimistic. That's a good thing to do. Pick up a copy of the Tribune today and read up details for yourself as we move things over now to the Nigerian News Direct.
All right, let's quickly get to the Nigerian News Direct. And above the nameplate, Ogun government seals OGD buildings, says a senator yet to provide any valid documentation. Now to the big story, which is coming from NCAA. The 6 months ban on Quam 1 remains despite apology. One rider to that story as AON Ibom Air slam lifetime no-fly ban on passenger over in-flight assault. Airtel Money Africa partners Power Pay for seamless international remittances. Nigeria in diaspora. Not just remitters, but investors in Nigeria's growth. This is coming from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. You can see his picture right there, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga. Then this one says a visually impaired group protests 2-year school closure, ground routes to Lagos airport. Finally, from the Nigeria News Direct here, this one says Indian refiners abandon Russia for Nigerian crude. Indian refiners abandon Russia for Nigerian crude. All right. Let's see if that is going to be of a blessing than a curse. That's the size of the headlines from the Nigerian News Direct this morning.
Bringing us to the last paper, the Vanguard newspaper. We move above the name mast to look at the headline on the top right corner of it. But before that, there's one even further up. It says Nigeria's non-oil exports into Nigeria's non-oil export jump nearly 20% in first half of 2025 on cocoa urea demand. That's on the Vanguard newspaper. All right, top right corner of the paper. Attack on Tinubu, NYC certificates or not, my life is great. Ushe. Hunger, poverty beyond mere statistics in Nigeria, Obi. Quam 1, ValueJet saga, industry divided over suspension of pilots. Armed herders Boko Haram kill soldiers, others in Benue, Borno. That of Benue we brought to you on our news yesterday. Quite a sad story. 3 lives we are told were lost in that incident. Armed herders Boko Haram kill soldiers, others in Benue, Borno. And then we have 4 riders with that headline. Let's see the first one here. It reads, women in protests, women protest fresh killing of 3 by herdsmen in Yelwata, block Makurdi, Lafia Road. Boko Haram attacks military formation in Borno, killed 2 soldiers. Nigerian Air Force airstrikes kill scores of terrorists in Zamfara. U.S. calls for coordinated response against Boko Haram, ISIS, other terrorist groups. Reports of attacks on troops in Kirawa Lake, says theater commander. Unruly Ibom Air passenger charged to court, remanded in Kirikiri prison. Details on page 7. Then one more do we have here. EFCC grills ex-Sokoto Governor Tambuwal over alleged 189 billion naira fraud. Owo Catholic Church attack, 5 remanded in DSS custody. Trump to meet with Putin Friday, promises to get back territory for Ukraine. Those talks will be happening, we understand, in the United Arab Emirates. But the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, says without Ukraine at the table, whatever compromises or agreements are reached will be null, void, and of no consequence, whatever as lawyers would say. Well, Ramsey is the guy to talk to you about this international development while you continue to follow and keep track of these events as they all unfold. This is where we'll take a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll put our first conversation on the road, which centers on International Youth Day and how that ties to SDGs and local participation.
So many thanks for staying with us on Global Morning today. Now it's time for us to get into the first discussion for the day. Like we said, our discussion this morning, the first conversation is going to be wrapped around the International Youth Day and Nigeria's empowerment strategy in focus. And of course, we're looking at SDG, and we are bringing it down to the locals because this has to do with the youth. Some persons will tell you the youths are the life wire of every society. And some persons may argue that, especially in a situation where the youths will have to struggle to get everything in the same environment, where there is this mentality sold to the youth that they are the leaders of tomorrow and the life wire of every nation. And to discuss this very topical issue today, I have the Executive Director of Youth Hub Africa seated with me in the studio in the person of Rotimi Olawale as we get into the discussion. It's good to have you join us this morning, Rotimi.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, Youth Hub Africa, you know, this is a name that rings bell. People actually know what you've been doing and your effort as it has to do with mobilizing the youths, giving them focus and direction. Now, let's get to know who a youth is. There is this misconception. You hear some persons say, okay, this person is a youth leader, and you look at the age. Some persons will tell you, hey, come on, is this person a youth? This is a married man with kids. And some persons will tell you that, well, it's just age. Age is just a number. It depends on what the person can bring to the table and his coordinating ability. And some persons will tell you, well, in as much as I can do what a youth should do, I'm a youth. And there is this argument about who a youth is. So can you quickly tell us who a youth is because it's International Youth Day, so it's all about the youth. So let's get to know what your own thoughts, all right, about who a youth is.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, happy International Youth Day to all the young people out there who are striving to make themselves better, to contribute to a better society for Nigeria. I think first is to step back from the age definition and say, when you say youth, what do you refer to? As far as I'm concerned, youth is a transition phase. You're transiting from children into adulthood. And so when you say somebody is a young person, is a youth, it's in that phase where they are not yet full adults. It means they don't have the income to support themselves, to stand on their 2 feet. It means they are probably still going through the 4 walls of education in an higher institution, in a technical education or polytechnic. It means sometimes they're out of school, they're trying to make a living, but they can stand on their own, as it were. And so if you look from country to country, from continent to continent, you will see that that band of youth definition can sometimes be different. If you look at the United Nations, for instance, recognizes youth between the ages of 15 to 24. In Europe, it's almost similar, youth 15 to 24, in some countries up to 21, in some countries up to 25 or 26. And then the question you would ask in Nigeria at 24.
I thought you were not going to mention Nigeria. I thought you were not going to mention Nigeria.
And if you come to Nigeria, then the question you ask yourself at 24, as a young person transition fully into adulthood, are they able to stand on their own? Do they still need government support, or they no longer need government support? Are they earning good income? Are they able to stand on their own? And that's what the question that we need to. And it's not only peculiar to Nigeria. I think it's if you even look at the African Youth Charter, it defines youth as 15 to 35. Nigeria's youth policy that is expiring, or that has expired, they're currently reviewing the youth policy, actually defines youth as 15 to 29. So the young people in Nigeria are seen as young people between the actual 18 to 29. That's the official youth age in Nigeria. For Nigeria.
But we don't have this playing out in the real sense because we have leaders.
And so that's what you need to understand. When it now comes to representation, right? If you look at political parties, for instance, which is where many times you see people that are maybe almost twice my age claim to be youth leaders. I have had the opportunity to interact with many of youth leaders in the past and even currently. I've even been invited to train a cohort of youth leaders for a political party drawn from their state youth leaders across the country. And as I sat in the room with, I think about almost 37 or 38 of them, including their national leaders, one was telling me, the gentleman sitting beside me was like, in the 1993 election, I was the returning officer or the party agent for my local government. I looked at it, I said, 1993, that's when I entered JSS1. And you are already a party stakeholder. And today the president is a youth leader from one of the state. But what he then told me was instructive. He says, so you know I've been participating in politics from that time. I have never gotten any position. Now this time they have zoned the youth leader to my constituency. And I am the party leader. So you are now telling me I should take that position and give to somebody else. He said, no, even if it is women leader they zone to this community, he is going to take it. So for issue of representation and participation, because the opportunities are very limited, so there's always contestation. Young people are always contesting for it. And many times when you see people have moved out of the youth age because they don't have anything to do, they want to hold firmly to that position. But it's something that we have to discourage in the polity.
Well, it's something that we have to discourage in the polity. But then, imagine that scenario. He's been there working for, that's what we talk about. A lot of these positions are being taken by other persons, leaving the youths just there. The youths are just there. Sometimes you see the youths being used negatively because there is nothing else to do. So this situation, is there anything that is being done to address situations like this? It's all about the youth today. It's a National Youth Day, and looking at the theme, all right, for this year's National Youth Day. Is there any way this kind of situation can be addressed? Because the reason why I'm asking this, it's because of the underdeveloped and developing countries, especially in Africa. We keep having recycling of some persons who have been taking what belongs to the youth. Look at, okay, we're talking about SDGs, for instance. This is something that people keep expecting. People keep expecting. How are we going to get to our destination, especially the youths?
I think that there are a couple of things that we need to do and we need to do right. And I must say that perhaps government is already putting some of the building blocks. We criticize them most of the time, but we must also acknowledge some of the progress that they are making. I think first thing is also training and capacity strengthening for young people. If you say you want to put young people into leadership positions and they don't have the cognitive experience, they don't have the technical skills, they don't have the know-how to function in that position, then you're going to be setting them up for failure. So we need to first expose them to such opportunities at a very young age. If you go to Europe, Latin America, Northern America, you see young people are deliberately pushed into leadership position from a very young age. It's not unusual to go into embassies and see people in their 20s already on foreign missions. It's very rare to see that in a country like ours, and we need to begin to do things like that. We need to provide technical training. The Federal Ministry of Communications Technology is doing the 3NTT program where they're training young people on IT skills nationwide. I think the goal is to train about 3 million young Nigerians so that they can earn a living, build technical skills. So we need to do that. We also need to expose our young people to leadership training, internships. Let them go into the National Assembly. I know that the former Speaker, Honorable Gbajabiamila, set up an initiative where every year, I think for the last 3 years now, they train about 50 to 70 young people on legislative internship, attach them as interns to members of the National Assembly so they can gain practical experience. They can see the nitty-gritty of how these things work, and it's already yielding results. The Nigerian government also many years ago set up the National Youth Parliament, which is more or less like a shadow parliament to shadow and teach young people how the rudiments of parliament works. So almost every year you see parliamentarians, I think 2 or 3 per state, on an annual basis. They go into the parliament, they bring them to Abuja once in a while. They sit, they pass more or less mock resolutions. And it's also a capacity building thing, because now they have to debate among themselves. They have to elect a speaker, they have to elect minority leaders and all of that. I have seen successes out of that. The first speaker of the National Youth Parliament then went on to be speaker of his own state House of Assembly in his state. And so you can see that there are opportunities that are emerging, but these are drops in the ocean. We need to do more of that. The way that our politics is designed in Nigeria is almost a turn-by-turn system. So if you enter at 20 and you have no big suitcases of dollars or money to spend, you have to go and join the queue. Before you get any opportunity, you probably have spent 25 years, and that's why many young people don't get opportunities in Nigeria.
All right. You've been working probably with the government. Now, from what you've said so far, we know that already there are some things in the pipeline, and there are some things going on. Looking at today is International Youth Day, and the team, what do you think informed this team, and how important is this team to the Nigerian youths?
I think if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals and leading local action, I think that, again, even young people on their own in Nigeria are doing a lot, even with or without government support. If you see, I always say to people, there was a time one of our leaders says Nigerian youths are lazy. I strongly disagree with that analogy. If you walk the street today, I was driving on my way here, it was raining. You see many young people already on their way to work, some of them raising the rain, some of them setting up their wares to sell things. I pass through Wuse Market, I see the woman who sells okpa right there on the bridge, right in the rain, wrapped herself in a plastic bag, and she's doing her business. So young people are not lazy. If you look at the entertainment scene in Nigeria, the cultural scene, the fashion industry, Nollywood, Nigerian music, young people have literally powered this industry without government interference and without government support. I have traveled to at least 20 African countries. Everywhere I go, people desire Nigerian attire. They've seen it in our movies, they've seen it in our music, they've seen it in our colorful weddings, and they want it, you know. And this is literally almost 100% powered by young people. The fashion craze that we're seeing today, the music industry where we have literally grown music global icons from the streets of Lagos, boys who are hustling, you know, and have now built by themselves, brick by brick, mortar by mortar, no loan from government, no grant from government, and they built themselves into global superstar. Whereas what people only see is a musician performing, Davido or Wizkid or Burna Boy. But there's an entire industry powering that. There are the people who arrange the beats, there are the guys who sell the music, there are the guys who ensure that they dress well, there are the production manager, there are the people who set up lights. It's entirely run by young people. And so you see young people leading this local action. When you leave the entertainment scene as well, you see the development field where young people are leading change. Of course, we've seen mass protests in Nigeria led by young people. We've seen young people complain about police brutality in Nigeria, saying enough is enough. And we've seen some changes. I think that has actually come down a little bit in terms of police brutality. We've seen young people also complain to government about many things, lead change, complain about solutions, and also leading solutions. The climate movement in Nigeria is predominantly led by young people saying enough is enough. If we don't act now, we're going to be facing a lot of climate challenges in the country.
All right. When we're talking about the youths, there's a way I look at the youths. Like I was saying during my introduction, they are more like the life wire of every society. But our youths today, what do you have to say? What do you think about their level of orientation? Why do I have to say this? Because there are some youths, all right, as we speak, that have given up. Some will tell you education is a scam, and you see them going into crime. I must say that the path you've chosen is a very strategic one, because the assignment there is so huge, and that's the reason most times I feel the government, one area that the government needs to invest more is the area of youth empowerment. Now, let's come to the issue of increase in crime. in every area. You see any crime, if there are maybe 5 crimes committed anywhere today, virtually in all, you will see one youth involved. Now, what level of orientation do we have? It's National Youth Day. What level orientations do we have for the youths to cope this circumstance? Because there is increase in crime, and you know how it is in an economy where you have to do everything possible, though, as they may say, to earn a living. You see these youths deviating. What is the level of orientation to discourage youths, Nigerian youths especially, from crime?
I think I must say that it's tough season for any young person in Nigeria, looking at the economic dynamics that we face as a nation. One of the social experiments that I do as I travel across Nigeria speaking to young people is to ask them, how many of you, if you have the opportunity today to leave Nigeria and go abroad and never come back, how many of you would take it and never come back? When I started this experiment about 5-6 years ago, you probably get about half of them say, oh, I'll go, I'll never come back. Some will say, okay, if I get an educational opportunity to go do masters or something, I'll do that and come back. Half of them will say, I'll go and never return. Increasingly, this year I've done it in about 3 or 4 cities across Nigeria. Almost 95 to 99% of the room wants to leave Nigeria and never come. And that's to show you the frustration that they have seen and they are facing with the system. And so is this unique to Nigeria? There are some of the issues that are unique to Nigeria. There are some that are the same. We are facing inflationary challenges. That's not unique to Nigeria. But what is unique to Nigeria is the sense that young people have a perception that there are no longer merit-based opportunities in Nigeria anymore. For a young person to even serve, be posted to CBN, by merit, it's almost impossible in Nigeria. For a young person to be posted to NNPC by merit, it's almost impossible in Nigeria, because now people perceive these so-called lucrative places are reserved for the children of the elite and for the ultra-rich in Nigeria. And that's not the case. Just 20 years ago, young people would be randomly posted to these institutions as they will be posted to schools and to serve and do things like that. So we need to bring back merit-based opportunities where young people believe that if I work hard, if I come out with a first class, I would not have to go and apply to be a video man for a TikTok influencer or to go and drive a truck for Dangote. I would have the opportunity. There would be a reward for the fact that I have put myself through the rigors of education and come out excelling. There must be some sort of reward for that kind of merit-based system. So we have to bring that merit-based system back. We also need to ensure that we care for the most vulnerable people in our society, those who are not able to make ends meet. How do we ensure that they are able to live and succeed and thrive in a community like ours? And I must thank the government for some of the initiatives that they are doing. They need to do more. But I would say, for instance, while I was in school, there was nothing like a student loan. And so people who cannot pay school fees have to struggle, beg, borrow, call uncles and all of that. And sometimes they're pulled out of exam hall because they're unable to pay. At least today, we're seeing thousands of young Nigerian students who are able to access student loans. That's the beginning. But there are still other things that government needs to fix. This situation where young people feel that they are hopeless in a country like Nigeria, and they see our leaders who are asking them to exercise patience, live in opulence, and like royals. We need to stop that. And we need for government to continue to invest in young people, invest in their education, invest in social policies, invest in social protection in order for them to be able to thrive and to push our nation forward to make it a strong, united nation.
All right. Thank you very much for that explanation. Now, let's look at the youth, because some of the youth that we have today, some of them are very talented. If you travel, like you said, you've traveled to some countries of the world and you see how Nigerians are performing outside. You talked about the fact that your research so far showed that a lot of Nigerians want to leave the country and all of that. And that's to seek for a better environment, greener pasture, as they call it. Now, what do you think, all right, the government needs to do additional, all right, to discourage? I don't know if it's even possible to discourage people from jackpotting as it is right now, especially the youth. We've lost so much. Okay, why did I say we've lost so much? Because what the youth are supposed to contribute to the development of the society, the country at large, our economy, they go out and they put out their best. As I speak to you, we have Nigerians who are working for companies abroad, remote jobs. But what if this effort is being put into our economy? If there is the enabling environment, where would we have been today economically? So now, what do you think the government needs to do additionally, especially in the area of tech, ICT, to make our youths settle down and stop thinking? Now we're talking about brain drain. Doctors are leaving on a daily. As of today in one of the papers, the doctors are worried about the death rate in the country because people can't afford treatment. We have shortage of doctors and all of that. And the youths who are supposed to occupy this empty space are also desiring to leave. So now, how do you think the government and those of you in the field interfacing with these youths, what do you think can be done to make sure this mentality is being erased, if it is possible at all?
Yeah, I think that we just need to take a step back. One of the things I say in the work that I've done so far is that my belief is that talent is evenly distributed all over the world. There is no country that does not have extremely talented people, including Nigeria. Actually, Nigeria, we are so blessed we have extremely talented people. What is not even is opportunities. Yeah. So how then do we increase opportunities? So if you have a lot of talent and you have limited opportunities, and you are in another country, you have a lot of talent, but you have equally more opportunities, that means talent would always find opportunities. If there are no opportunities for the talents to look for in your country, they are going to go in search of that opportunity elsewhere. But if we take a step back, in the period of 99, when Nigeria came back into democracy, and we had our first elected democratic president who went around the entire world asking Nigerians to come back, you can imagine the number of Nigerians that came back between 1999 and 2007 who said, oh, I think that Nigeria is on the right trajectory. Let's go home and contribute to that. We saw many of them come back to Nigeria. But at some point, things began to change and people were like, oh, we don't think those opportunities exist in Nigeria anymore. So it has happened before, it can happen again. We need to ensure that we create opportunities. You see, it's a shame when we see medical doctors quit their job here, senior bank executives quit their job here to go and do care job abroad. It's a total waste of investment. For you to look at it, before you finish university in Nigeria, you have done 6 years of primary school, at the very least. You have done 6 years of secondary school, 12 years. You've done an average of 4 or 5 years without strike in the university. That's 17 years. And for you to be middle-level manager in a bank, mid-level, you've done probably another 5 years of work or 7 years of work. 22 years of work for you to go and clean up an old lady in Europe. It's a total waste of investment. And that investment is not coming from you, it's also coming from government, because many of us enjoyed subsidized education while we were growing up, even if it wasn't totally free. We enjoyed subsidized university education because we paid so little. So from a government perspective, it's a waste of investment. Return on the investment is now zero, because even if the only thing you are getting back is the tax, they're not paying tax somewhere else. They are no longer developing your country. Their tax is used to develop somewhere else. But it's a total waste of investment where you have someone so talented, an engineer, quitting his job, carrying his entire family to go abroad. But the first thing is to ask people, why are they leaving? Is it just because of money? People are selling their houses in Nigeria to go abroad. Is it because of money? Not all the time that is because of money. Sometimes it's also because of things like safety. When people feel a sense of fear, where people say, oh, if I send my daughter to school, how would I make sure that she will not be kidnapped on her way back? The sense of safety that they have in Nigeria, the sense of security. If my children go here, do they get the same level of quality education as if they live in Europe? Our public education is in shambles. I say today, it's almost impossible to send a child to public education from primary 1 to SS3, and they'll make it into university without extramural classes, especially if the public school is outside of state capitals. It's almost impossible for them to pass WAEC and JAMB. All public schools, it's almost impossible. If they don't have extramural classes, if their parents are not buying extra books and teaching them differently and putting a lot of effort, they're not going to make it, because public education is in shambles. How then do we create opportunities for kids like that? How then do you say they should not go into crime? So we have to invest in our public education. We have to pay our teachers well. We have to ensure that that education that we're giving to our kids, that they can read and write, that we can expose them to world-class education. And we can create opportunities at home. We can create opportunities because at the end of the day, government has just very limited people it can employ. All of us can work in government. We can work in civil service. The spaces are limited. So government's biggest role is to energize the economy, that institutions, private sector drive jobs, right? Our music and movie industry, perhaps they're just making 5% of the impact they can make today. If they get a lot of government support, they would energize the entire continent, because if you literally will go anywhere on the continent, they're listening to Nigerian music. Anywhere on the continent, 80% they're consuming Nigerian music and Nigerian content. How do we energize this some more? So there are lots of opportunities. Government needs to set the policy right. They need to develop the policy framework. We need to create opportunities at home. When people perceive that there are opportunities here, they would return. And when they return with a global experience. They return with technical know-how, having experienced life both here and abroad, and they help to oxidize and energize our economies.
All right, we're trying to round up, but now, what do you think about youth participation in politics? Let me take you back a little bit from your explanation when you were talking about the fact that some youths are being inculcated into what happens at the National Assembly and all of that, political participations and all of that. There is this mentality, in Nigeria, that if you must succeed, you need to be a politician. And from my own point of view, I don't see politics as a career. All right. Even people who go to study politics in political science in school, some of them come out and they don't smell anything politics forever. But then there is this mentality sold to the people, especially the younger ones, that it is a do or die. Getting into politics makes you rich, you can amass wealth and all of that. So some youths, as we speak, are not ready to do anything, but then following Godfathers, like you talked about that young man who said he has been working for years. If any position comes, he needs to take it. Only God knows how long he's been there working. We have a lot of youths that are being used negatively by some politicians because of the mentality that one day, if I continue to follow Oga, I will also get into politics and become a politician and get into a political office. Now, that is one area, as it has to do with political participation, with a negative mentality of getting into a political office. Generally, what do you think of youth participation and involvement in politics in Nigeria, and what's your assessment? At what level are we?
I think at the end of the day, any sector that looks flamboyant, that people can see, people drive big cars, throw lots of money at parties, young people are interested in that. And that's why you see, as we speak today, I'm sure there are probably 5,000 young people in studios across Nigeria trying to rap or sing in the hopes that they will make it and fly private jet like that video of Burna Boy. Some of them will, but the success rate is going to be about 2 to 5%. Many of them will not, because they don't have the skills, they don't have the talent, and they don't have the opportunity. It's the same with politics. People see politicians flamboyant, drive brand new SUVs, go into the communities, give people money, and they desire that kind of life, But the thing that we need to also step back is, one, to hold our government accountable. Why are they spending that much money? Is it their money? It's our commonwealth. It's not resources that they should use on themselves alone. And the second thing, we also need to solve what is called the Maslow's hierarchy of need. At the bottom of the pyramid is the need for food, for shelter, and for clothing. when people are not hungry, it becomes very expensive to mobilize them for ulterior motives. Right now in Abuja, if you say, oh, you want to mobilize people and bring them to Eagle Square to sing and dance for you, and you offer 1,000 naira, nobody's going to show up anymore. Why? 1,000 naira does not pay their tea fare. If you're bringing somebody from Mararaba and say, come and dance for me at Eagle Square, I'll give you 1,000 naira, it's not going to show up because the guy's going to calculate, Mararaba to Eagle Square, I'm going to spend more than 1,000 naira. You have to offer more. But imagine if that young man is selling recharge card by the roadside and is making profit 10,000 naira per day, and you ask him to leave that enterprise to come and dance, you must be offering 15,000 or 20,000 for him to come. If you're not offering 20,000 naira, he's not going to come, because how would I leave, even if I like you as a politician, why should I leave my daily income where I earn 10,000 naira to come and dance for you and get a t-shirt and be paid less than what I earn on a day? But the fact that we have so many unemployed young people in Nigeria who are struggling to eat. Many people are woken up in Nigeria today, they don't know what they're going to eat today. They're not sure if they will even eat anything today. So they are there begging on the streets, looking for something to eat. If you solve for food, if you solve for shelter, if you solve for clothing, and there are many ways to do that. We've seen people do social protection all over the world, even in developing countries, social protection. Once you solve for that, young people are not going to blindly follow anybody just because they wear a t-shirt or they offer them peanuts to go and dance for them. That's one side. And that's on the supply side. On the demand side, we need to continue to train and build the capacities of young people in many areas. One, to be able to use their thinking to decipher between who do they actually want to support when people run for office. And we're already seeing that change in Nigeria, where people even say, if you pay us money, we collect your money, we vote whoever we want to vote for. And we need to see more of that. The people hold their government accountable. That people know what role the federal government play. A lot of blame is placed on the federal government, but there's also a lot of responsibilities on state government that people are not holding accountable. But there's also responsibility on local government. How do we hold our local government accountable? How do we hold our state governments accountable? And how do we find pockets of opportunities for young people in the entire value chain of politics? People only focus on elective position. There are a lot of appointments that happen across the entire value chain. I think what one of the presidential candidates that say, if they name you president today, you have 7,000 positions to fill, appointed positions, board chairmen, board members, diplomatic posts, all of that. You have 7,000 positions to fill. Do you have 7,000 friends? I guess not, you don't have. You have to depend on people. And so there are all kinds of opportunities across the value chain. We need to find opportunities for young men. We also need to remember that not only young men are young people, we have young women as well, and we need to equally find opportunities for young women. Today in the National Assembly, I think the rate of women in the Assembly is at the patch about 2 or 3%. We need to do better, but we also need to do better for our younger women, expose them to opportunities that they can compete with their peers, not both only locally, but globally. The opportunities are there. We need to hand them to our young people so that they can thrive and power the nation forward.
All right. Thank you very much for that. It is International Youth Day, and of course, we're looking at the empowerment because the youths are very, very, very important to the society. What's your assessment of youth contribution to national development in Nigeria? I don't know if you have statistics or maybe from your work so far, because you're doing a great job. You interface with these youths and maybe some government agencies, and there is this interface and maybe a level of contribution to, because I once interviewed a young man who produces shoes, and if you see his shoes, you wouldn't know if it is internationally made or locally made. But what these people always cry for is the support and enabling environment, like you rightly said. And in their own way, they've contributed, because the way they sell, it may not be as high as that of the ones on the shelf in that boutique and all of that. So somehow they've handled one part of a problem. They are solving a problem from one angle. So generally, What can you say about youth contribution to national development in Nigeria?
So that kind of young man, for instance, if I am government, what I'm then going to say to him is, you already have an enterprise, you're already probably employing 2 or 3 people. How do government help you to scale up? In many ways, for instance, how do we expose you to training that helps you to build better shoes that can compete global standard? How do we expose you to opportunities that you can begin to export? We have the Africa Free Trade Agreement at the moment where Africans in trade, we need to trade better amongst ourselves. How then can we expose you to begin to sell your shoes in Cameroon, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, across the continent? So what can government do? Government can give you the platform, or there's an exhibition in Kenya. We say, okay, bring your shoes, we give you a booth, we give you a plane ticket. Now it's up to you. You get to Kenya, if you like, go and party. If you like, open your eyes and see what other people are doing in another country. You see, these shoes from Ghana are better than mine. How did they do their own? Let me see. You see a contact, normally say they want your shoe in Tanzania. We need to find those kinds of opportunities for you. Young people are not necessarily even asking you for free money. They're not asking you for free. What they're asking you is to give them the platforms that enables them to grow their enterprises. And we have so many of them already doing excellently and fabulously well. And there are different value chains because young people are not an homogeneous group. There are some people who have already grown up, they are in their 20s, never had any form of education in their life. They can't read and write. Those people, it's a different set of interventions that you do for them. There are some young people in business who are already thriving on their own, who are doing something small. There's different interventions that you do for that. Those you want them to scale up, you want them to employ more people, because as they employ more people, they're helping government to solve a problem, right? They employ more people, they're helping government to solve a problem. And then there's also the big enterprises. You're also asking them, give business to these young people, right? You're telling the Dangotes, buy from these young people. You're telling even government agencies, patronize these young people. Don't buy things from abroad all the time. Don't buy only from the multinationals. Patronize these young people and pay them on time. Don't be like government where they supply stuff for you, you hold them for 5 years. You're going to ruin the small business. Multinationals can survive that, but the small business won't survive those kind of things. And so we need a mixed mixture of policies to ensure that our young people continue to thrive and they can conquer the entire world.
All right. It's National Youth Day. I'll keep echoing that, and we're looking for SDGs. Now, talking about SDGs, what level are we as it has to do with SDGs in Nigeria?
I think, unfortunately, we're not doing well with SDGs. I was at the high-level political forum in July, where we discussed progress on the SDGs. Nigeria submitted its third report looking at progress that we have made on SDGs. Unfortunately, we are not on track to achieve any of the SDG goals. But I would say that we've made some progress here and there. There are buckets of progress that we've made here and there. We've made some progresses, perhaps on education. We've made some progresses. We're now making progress a little bit on health. We've been able to eradicate polio in Nigeria after concerted effort. So we see pockets of progress, but I must say we're not on track to achieve any of the SDG goals, and I think that is disappointing for a country like Nigeria.
All right. We've been talking about youths, and there is this belief, and it's not just a belief, it's a reality, that some of these impacts that we're talking about, engagement, impact, orientation, opportunities, is available to people at the urban area most times. Something drew my attention when you made mention of the fact that some persons are in their 20s already, they don't even know how to read or write, and these people need to survive. And when you want to talk about youth development, it should cut across all strata, communities, people at the rural area, every one of them. Because if you're working on just the people in urban area, one day these persons may find their way to the city and they will constitute nuisance. So now, what's the level of engagement at the grassroots?
I think that what we're already seeing in Nigeria is rural-urban migration. If a young person is in their teens or in their early 20s, whether they are educated or uneducated, you ask them, they want to move to the biggest urban city. So you see Kano, you see Lagos, you see Abuja, you see Port Harcourt. I think about the big five in Nigeria, biggest cities. So young people want to go there. Even if they can't do anything, let me go and ride Okada in Kano. I will make more money than stay in my small village there, and so I have the dreams of moving to the big city. And so what is the push factor to the big city? What kind of infrastructure, sometimes social life, that exists in the big cities that don't exist in the small cities? It's about even access to training. There are more training happenings in the big cities than the small cities. And that's what government needs to look at. How do we ensure that, for instance, if you're not careful, in another decade or two, we'll only have old men and women on farms continuing to farm in the old ways that we've always farmed, because farming will not be attractive to young people. How do you make farming attractive to young people? How do we ensure that we train them on smart, modern tools that they can use? How do we connect them to market? How do we ensure that infrastructures for them to take their goods to market exist? How do we ensure that we do processing? We're not just selling raw materials and raw products. There's a lot of processing ongoing and things like that. And so these are the kinds of opportunities we need to find for our young people in the rural areas to ensure they also can thrive and contribute immensely to our economy. Today, they are growing our food, but we need to ensure that they process this food and send it out of the country for export as well.
Well, that's a very wonderful time we've had so far, and I'm so excited because it's International Youth Day, and we have the director of Youth Hub Africa right here, and it's been a very fruitful discussion. But then, finally, what will be your word of encouragement to the Nigerian youth and the government? It's Youth Day. Just talk to the youth. Forget about the government, because it's Youth Day. But then, can we ever do without the government? Well, just your last word.
I would say to every young people listening, wherever you are in Nigeria, don't give up on your dreams. Many people have made it out of this country, and many people they start from a place of lack, and they've moved from that place to a place of abundance. So whatever it is that you're going through at the moment, keep thriving, keep pushing up, keep improving on yourself, and believing that you can make it. And I'm absolutely sure you will, and you'll be the best version of yourself possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotimi Olawale, for joining us on the first conversation on Global Morning today. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, viewers, this is going to be the size of the first discussion on Global Morning today. Don't forget that another very interesting conversation will still be coming on your way. But before that conversation comes up, we're going on a quick break, and after this break, we'll bring you our social buzz, where Mobuno is already standing by to bring you social buzz for today. What's happening on the social media, where a lot of our youths are right now as we speak. All right, over to you, Ogochukwu Mobuno, for Social Buzz. Stay with us. We'll return after the Social Buzz.
morning, the Global Morning crew, and good morning to you, my viewers. I am Okotku Mobno. Today we'll be looking at what's buzzing on social media. Ibom Air passenger assaults air hostess. A tense drama unfolded on Sunday, August 10th at the Lagos airport when a female passenger arriving on an Ibom Air flight from Uyo became visibly agitated and physically confronted staff. According to videos shared on X, the woman got into a confrontation with airport officials refusing to calm down. In one particularly alarming moment, she was seen physically assaulting a female flight attendant inside the aircraft known as Julian Edward. The situation escalated beyond verbal exchanges, prompting intervention from airport police, who eventually bundled her into an airport shuttle before restoring order. I beg your pardon. It was gathered that the confrontation stemmed from the passenger's refusal to follow crew instructions, specifically directives like switching off mobile phones during landing. Well, it seems as though we are having more dramas unfolding in the aviation sector, from King Wasiu Ayinde, also known as Kwam1, to Comfort Emerson, a passenger on the Ibom Air flight in Lagos. Further report shows that the AON, Airport Operators of Nigeria, have placed a no-fly live band on the Ibom Air passenger Comfort Emerson for her unruly behavior, and she has also been arraigned by the Lagos police on a 5-count charge bordering on assault, willful damage, and conduct likely to cause breach of peace, currently remanded in the Kirikiri Correctional Center in Lagos after pleading not guilty pending the fulfillment of her bail condition. The Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, also says that the staff who released the video of Comforts containing indecent exposure to the public will be singled out and adequately sanctioned. Well, we all saw that video yesterday, and I'm telling you right now that a lot of persons have so much to say on social media. Everyone have their own perspective. Some came from, Comfort's perspective, and the other actually came from the air hostess perspective. We'll be taking some comments right away from social media, and the first comment is coming from Chief Dr. Ejiro Okurame, and this person says, "This is totally wrong. Get the police to escort her out instead of dragging her out half naked. All shades of wrong." The next comment is coming from Official Mercy Ihotu, and Official Mercy says, "I don't care what happened, but how do you allow yourself to be manhandled by people like this? Whatever the case might be, calm down peacefully and talk. It's that simple if you have any respect for yourself." Well, the last but not the least comment is coming from First King Frank, and King Frank says, "Before you condemn the officials, remember that it was a forceful removal, which means she refused to obey the order to leave. Refusal to leave an aircraft means she's now holding the aircraft hostage, like that musician." I'm sure he's talking about K1. He further went on to say, "If a passenger refuses to allow an aircraft to leave, the airport security will be called to forcefully evacuate the passenger. So ask yourself, why did she refuse to evacuate the aircraft even after slapping the air hostess?" It was also gathered that she waited, after everyone had, come down from the flight, everyone had alighted from the flight, then she actually went to confront the air hostess herself, which that was actually an unruly behavior. It is actually not cool at all. Also, it was gathered that she tore the flight curtain, which was damage to the flight, and also some other damages she caused, which was the reason why they have actually asked her to, took her to the correctional center and also arraigned her in court. Anyway, she pleaded not guilty, and I'm sure her case has been adjourned to October the 10th, and she'll be coming up again in court for it. But again, like I said, so many persons have so much to say. The musician's wife and musician also Simi Adekunle Gold's wife came up to say that even though she was asked to put off her phone and she didn't turn it off, there are so many ways to do it. If your phone is switched on, doesn't mean that the plane is going to crash. Also, the referee made this statement, say if your phone is on, doesn't mean that your phone is the aircraft is going to crash. It simply means that either you put your phone in flight mode and you don't have any problem to worry, don't have any reason to worry about the phone. But then if you are asked to switch off your phone, if that is the airport or the flight, if the flight attendant is asking you to switch off your phone, and that is the rule that is set aside for even flights, so please, why don't we just, cooperate with them? And it's just a few minutes flight, by the way, so why don't you just do it and go your way? And waiting after every other passenger has alighted before you attack the air hostess is really, really wrong. I think they must have sorted it out at first, so why wait just to assault, the air hostess? And at the end of the day, look at what happened. I hope she will be arraigned in court again. She will be coming up again in October, and I hope she kind of have something tangible to say, because that is actually wrong. Anyways, we'll be going further to the Global Morning crew, because I know they are going to continue from here, and I'm sure you have so much to say. Please drop your thoughts on our comment section using the social media handles you're seeing right here on your screen and be part of this conversation. I am Ogochukwu Mobno, and I'll be leaving you to the Global Morning crew. Please stay with us. Oh, wow. So I'll be going on to Uyi Agbonfuegbe. Uyi, I'm sure you must have seen that video all over social media. It's making round, it made round all through Monday morning stroke evening. So what do you think about it, please?
All right, Ogochukwu. I think the first thing we want to look at is to understand that there's when your right stops, that's where someone else's starts, all right? We need to understand that. The second thing we also need to know is to say that, look, people must understand the difference between their living room and the public space.
Very well.
And then you take it further to realize that there are rules of engagements when it comes to using the services of an airline. So when you embark on a trip by air, there's a way you must conduct yourself, right? They say there's no smoke without fire, which also simply means that in this particular case, the question is at what point did the young lady miss it, and how did the air hostess also flouts the rules of engagement. So we must hold these two ladies accountable, all right, vis-a-vis the rules of engagement, all right, associated with their different rules. One apparently is an air hostess, and the other is a flight passenger. You see, it just back to back, a few days in between the one of Kwam1, which has become very controversial, and now there's this one from just a matter of less than 48 hours ago. So it just shows that there's something we need to understand, and people must know that, look, there are laws. People just unrealistically tell themselves there are no laws. I'm above the law somehow. But the question is, I mean, do we understand what they say when they tell us that if you can't take the heat, what you need to do is get out of the kitchen? Now, finally, the lady has been remanded in Kirikiri, and we understand this case has been moved to sometime in October. So for the next few weeks, she's going to be there calling off our heels. But what lessons are we learning from this, and who else is going to tow this path, and what will be the consequences and the answers to those questions?
It's really surprising because most times we don't even get to see Nigerians behave like this outside the country. But whenever it's in the country, I feel just like you said, they feel like there are no laws and nobody should control me or whatever it is. But now she, like you said, she will be cooling off in Kirikiri for the next how many days, who knows. But then again, I want to say, Uyi, since the comrade had Oshiomhole had issues in the airport, I think we've been having issues like this in the aviation sector back to back. Do you think there's a cause from the Benin angle?
I don't know, but I don't know whether it's the Benin angle or whatever angle it is. But I think he's just beginning to, if you like, raise the curtains of the really out on the inside. And the earlier we deal with this, the better for all of us.
All right, thank you so much, Uyi. All right, please stay with us as Global Morning continues.
All right, let's get it on the road, everyone. Quite a rainy day today, but let's wrap it up with a bit of politics for you, just to add the icing to the cake. Quite a number of by-elections, what some people call off-cycle elections, have been scheduled for this time. The case of Edo is very peculiar because the current governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo, of course, had to vacate his Senate seat to run for the governorship of the state, and today is the governor, so that has been vacant. The same thing with his, well, some people say 2IC, the deputy governor, Dennis Idahosa himself, a former member of the House of Representatives. That federal constituency has also been vacant. Now, there is the race for the two persons who would replace these two gentlemen in those two capacities. I'm joined this morning by a member of the APC, Comrade Haruna Brimo, to help us understand what exactly is going on the ground in terms of the politics, and in particular the electioneering and the campaign that will go before the 16th of August. Thank you, Comrade Haruna, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about what makes this very unique. Of course, we understand how we came about these vacancies in the first instance, but issues have always, I mean, the campaigns have always been about individuals, about personalities. Have we really heard much about issues in this campaign?
Of course, it seems maybe you guys need to do more of media engagement.
But it's been so much about personalities for the most part.
Like what? Which of the personality? Because
quite a number of them.
It's been about issues of good governance delivery. First of all, let Nigerians know that this is an election that is like a litmus test. And
for whom? For INEC or for the actors?
For the actors involved, not just the actors, the state government, the Okpebholo administration, in the sense that was his senatorial district. He was a senator from 2023 till November last year, when he was sworn in as governor of the state, and coming back to campaign for his party, APC, for people to vote for the candidate of the party. It shows that there must be issue-based electionary process. It tells that there's going to be like interaction between him and the people. After about 8 to 9 months in governance, the people will ask questions from that particular senatorial district. Ironically, it's from there. What have you done? What have you done? What have you done? Same thing with the deputy governor, who was a House of Rep member from the Ovia Federal Constituency. And now,
since 2019.
Since 2019, and now the deputy governor of the state. And we also have a candidate there, Right Honorable Omosede Igbenedion, as APC candidate.
Who is not a neophyte to the House of Representatives.
Exactly.
She has been there.
Exactly. So it's a test of stewardship from both the governor and the deputy in their respective constituents, because these are where the elections are taking place right now. Why do you want the people to vote for a candidate of your party as a deputy governor? These are issues that you need to tell the people during election. It's not about the personality. Beyond the personality lies the fact that you are from a party that is in government. What has the government and the party done for the people in this constituency that will make them work and vote for your candidates? The same thing with the governor. So if you go side by side, that's why I call it a litmus test. And beyond that, it's going to play a pivotal role in determining or influencing the possible outcome of the 2027 as far as Edo State is concerned. Because it's an APC state, I'm talking about the general elections.
That you mentioned the APC state is very instructive, because there are people in the state, I mean those residents in those states, politicians like yourself, who say that the only thing, the unique thing, the All Progressives Congress is bringing to the table in these two elections, all right, these two polls will just be incumbency, nothing else.
No, these are not, the contestants, first of all, are not incumbent. When I mean...
incumbency in the sense of the fact that APC is in power in the state.
You have opportunity to... The party that just left power in those states is PDP.
Right.
For 8 years, Obaseki was in charge. And if the governor is coming to his senatorial district to say, vote for my candidate, or vote for the candidate of APC, the governor is being able to point to SYZ project that is done for his senatorial district in the last 8 months that were not there in the 8 years of the former PDP-led government of Edo State. Then the people will definitely vote for the governor, not based on incumbency, but based on what he has done. We can count. We have 5 local governments in Edo Central. Let's start from there. We have the Esan West, which is Ekpoma. We have the Esan Central, Irua. We have the Esan Northeast, Uromia, and we'll have the Igwebe and the Esan Southeast, Ubiaja. Across this respective local government, there is no local government that the Okpebholo-led administration in the last 9 months has not fixed a fundamental project. I mean fundamental project. I'm not even talking of the general recruitment and human capital development that is going on across the 18 local governments in the state. Let's start from Ekpoma, for example. Ile is in Ekpoma.
Right.
It's connecting Ile to Irua and the Ile-Idumebo road that leads to Irua. The Ako-Ile road that also leads to Irua. The primary school, the Ile Primary Secondary School remodel. One of the Ekpoma itself, the headquarters of the local government of Esan West. The fact that the university is being revamped across all fronts. For the first time, we now have a board of governors that's running the affairs of the university, increasing the.
But AAU has always had a board.
Yeah, for some time they didn't have. They were being on salaries, which you are aware of. Lecturers were being hold, and Okpebholo cleared all those things. That is Esan West local government, where it's a university community. And coming back to the university subvention, before now, the past administration was paying 41 million monthly subvention. The university, how do you expect 41 million, apart from maybe they generate their own internal IGR from school fees and other levies from students? How do you expect such school to embark on some capital infrastructure project? But Okpebholo came in, rearranged the old, restructured the old system and increased the subvention to 500 million. And you expect those people not to, that university community, for example, not to vote for his party in the coming election. Let's go to Esan Central, which is Irua, where a lot of project is going on. We have the Edo State NOC and Science Technology School currently being constructed in Udomi. Udomi is a community in Esan Central in Irua. What of the Uwesa farm projects, massive farm projects? We are talking of that is going to bring direct and indirect engagement and employment for over 20,000 people, funded by the state government for the first time. Don't forget that for 8 years somebody funded wasted 23 billion in a Sobe farm and we never harvested maize. Now we are talking of a complete farm system. You know, what of if we see touch in the same Esan Central, we have the Udoni Road to the village, the Afuda Road, be constructed already. These are constructed roads. A lot of projects going on, and it's connected from Iruepe. Just approved the Iruepe to Sabogida Ora Road right now. Iruepe is the community of the former senator. What is it called? The man that Oshomo took over from. Professor Osubo.
Right.
His own community.
The one that was removed by court.
Exactly, the one that was removed by court. Professor Osubo was a former senator who is now in the ADC. Okpebholo is touchy-giving project, delivery project across. Now let's go to Uromi. You saw him on television the other day. Uromi Agboro, that is not passable. More than 3 road projects are going on in that axis. That is Esan Northeast.
Can I ask you this?
Excuse me, Igwebe.
Yes.
He just approved another school for them. And all these schools are being remodeled. About 16 schools.
That's where you already have a college of education.
Exactly. For total reconstruction and rehabilitation of the college of education in Igwebe. And Uzea Road is ongoing. Even as we are campaigning right now, they are asphalting that road. Ugboha Road is there. These are all in Esan land. And we expect these people not to vote. You're talking about personality. When there are projects to show for it.
Okay, with all of this, I mean, brilliant ideas.
We are not talking of the massive federal road construction that is going on in Ekpoma across these 5 local governments.
These are amazing projects, really. I mean, those completed, those ongoing, and even those that have been, I mean, within the space of ideation and all that.
We're going to talk of Ugboha, the larger. You remember in this program, talk about the water scheme. Yes, that Buhari completed and was waiting for reticulation since September 2018.
Again, that's
Lai Mohammed was the Minister of Information who handed that project over to Obaseki.
Again,
and they never reticulated that.
I knew that would cycle back to Obaseki.
No, that is the truth. Yes. As we speak today now, people of Ugboha and Everest, for the first time, I think that is the only town I can see in those states that have access to pipe bore water. We're not talking about bore water.
Okay,
within 8 months, we reticulated that water system.
Amazing. But
water is running.
But you see, that's why I was. That's why I was going to ask you. People will say, I mean, every right-thinking person will say, with all of these projects, all of these initiatives being rolled out, the government under the leadership of Senator Monday Okpebholo is doing amazingly well. But again, there's a challenge that appears to give the impression that the governor is doing the job of Honorable Omosede Igbeneghu and the other gentleman running for the seat for the office of the senator for that for them. I mean, nobody is talking about what these individuals, both of them are bringing to the table. He's doing for them.
You know, in Nigeria, we drift a lot. Most of us in Nigeria, we don't know that with the organs of government we have the executive, who is responsible to execute governance, including good governance delivery in project and what have you, policy formulation, policy direction, policy implementation, and co. You now have the legislative arm of government, whose responsibility, core functionality, is for lawmaking. The law that is being made is the law that the executive implements, and it's the same law that the judiciary interprets, isn't it? But today in Nigeria, most of us expect lawmakers to be delivering a project. I was engaging somebody on social media where during the campaign, Ikpe talked about how he's going to drive some bills and laws that will affect rural agriculture, rural farming, rural economy. People were not talking, oh, is it what we are going to do there? You are not telling us the road you are going to build for us. You're not telling us the water you are going to bring. All this, if not because Obasanjo initiated the constituency allowance or constituency project scheme into our political lexicon, that is now making the National Assembly looks as if they are project executors. You understand? The core business of legislative is to do the legislative business of bills creation, bills passage, and lawmaking. And which these people have come, they have identified areas in the health sector as far as Edo State is concerned, or senatorial district, Esa Central, Edo Central is concerned. They have reviewed the activities in the agricultural sector, rural economy, the local market. How do you create that enabling law? These laws are not just made for, imagine Ikpe initiating a bill that will affect, that will stratify the gains for local market women in Nigeria. It's not just going to be limited to Edo Central. When that bill is passed and it becomes law, it becomes for the whole Nigeria, isn't it? That's why they call them distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They don't call them senators of so senatorial districts. They will only say you are representing, but your bills become national
items.
Of course. So, and Omosede Igbeneghu has been there before. Ironically, the current deputy governor was the DG of her campaign when she was in the Senate, and she did exceedingly well.
When she was in the House of Reps.
Sorry, when she was in the House of Reps.
Right.
You know, so she's not coming to a new turf. She's coming to an arena that she has played in. You know, she knows how to do things, and she has initiated a lot of eye-catching bills that have affected the lives of people, especially in the Ovia area. Look at the development that is also going on there. The Alpa Ekenwa Road project, connecting Dancy Local Road to Okada. A lot of projects and the remodeling of some schools. A lot of initiatives are going on.
Let's talk about Omosede now, Honorable Omosede and the Deputy Governor. We're talking about Dennis Idahosa. Of course, in 2015, she ran again. I mean, he ran against Omosede, and Omosede won that election. I mean, he was the DG. Omosede was the election. But in 2019 and 2023, Omosede ran against him, and she lost to him.
Yeah.
And there were things that he said about each other by way of campaign in 2019 and in 2019 and in 2023. Won't those things work against Honorable Omosede Igbeneghu? Are we just going to leave them in the arena of politics?
First of all, as far as those things does not affect the collective desire for the growth and development of their federal constituency, they don't make any meaning beyond political rhetorics during campaigns. First of all, these are crossfire statements that are made during electionary. But when it comes to governance, you drop politics and face governance. And I don't think there are any statement of such that are deeper to affect or influence the governance capacity delivery of both smart and experienced young political icons in the person of His Excellency Right Honorable Dennis Osagbo Idausa and Honorable Gabriela Benedio.
Okay, let's wrap it up now because of time. Lately, we've seen a new dynamic to politicking in those states. When Barrister, I should say, Felix Osemege got suspended the other time, then there was this element of tribalism that started setting in. Bini people, Esan people, and so on and so forth. How much of impact will that have on this electioneering?
No, there's not going to be much, but first of all, we need to realize that we are having a society that is built on multiculturalism.
Right.
More than 300 ethnic groups and more than 500 tribes in Nigeria. So we are operating not an absolute democratic system. We are operating multicultural democracy. In such system, there are bound to be insinuations of tribal sentiment here and there. But the collective goal that unites this country is about being Nigeria. You know, so by extension, being Edo as a state. So whatever we do, we should be able to do it to affect positively on the growth and development of Edo State. Not on the, I don't look at the base of sentiment of where you come from, your tribe, your creed. Those are a little bit of profiling, which doesn't flow with my personal philosophy or principles. But with the same issue, I don't want to really delve into it.
Right.
We should be looking at the principles of accountability and transparency, which the Governor Monday Okpebholo stands to straighten across board. When he suspended the man from Edo North and subsequently remove him now, the man in the flood and erosion control.
Right.
Nobody cry, nobody from Edo North cry foul. You get it? So why do we now have to look at the issues? He has stated in the suspension letter what transpired, which is in the public
basis for the suspension.
You know, the basis for the suspension. Why are people not looking at that basis?
I think that's the brilliant way to put it. But again, we're just 4 days away from the election.
Yes.
We hope the best man wins, as
No,
they say.
the best is APC, and the best is Governor Okpebholo. The best is Ipeya as a senator, and
I knew you would say that. You and I will be here to also, by the grace of God, do.
No, after the election, we're going to judge. Now we are going to war. From that till Saturday, it's going to be war.
Violence-free processes.
No, absolutely. That's what the APC stands for.
I just say a big thank you to you.
Thank you very much.
Comrade Haruna Brahma, for coming to talk to us about these issues. As usual, this is where we're leaving the program this morning, everyone. We appreciate you for spending your time with us this morning. Ramsey, my colleague, and I, we're grateful for this investment, and we'll say continue to watch Global Television.